Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Bruno. I am the Executive Director of the Public Leadership Education Network. I'm speaking to you from my backyard in Adams Morgan, DC, during this really strange time. And I'm here with my colleague Marwa Odeh, we're going to talk to you about PLEN and some of the opportunities that are available to Hood students. So I think first we'll just kind of say our general little background about both of us, and I'll go, and then Marwa can just tell us a little bit about herself. I'm Sarah Bruno. I'm the executive director of the Public Leadership Education Network, and I have been in this role for about 4 years. It's my full-time job, so this is what I do all day, is try to get more women into public policy leadership. Um, I I have a long career in nonprofit work, and I attended Haverford College right outside of Philadelphia. And then I did my master's degree at Boston University in social work. I concentrated in macro social work, so lots about nonprofit management, and so that's kind of I'm using my degree. Marwa, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Marwa Odeh, and I am the Programs and Development Manager here at PLEN. So basically, I manage the logistics for all the seminars, and I implement fundraising goals, including grant writing, donor tracking, and alumni engagement. I graduated from Najah National University in Palestine, the Middle East, and I studied accounting, business, and economics. And after I graduated, I flew to Washington, D.C. to work in Congressman Jamie Raskin's office. And I've only been with PLEN for about 3 months now. So I'm a recent employee, and I'm excited to have more Hood students join our seminars.
Great, thanks, Marwa. We thought Marwa and I we'd just tell you a little bit about these programs. You may be familiar with some of what we do, but I wanted to tell you a little bit more. So PLEN's whole mission is to get more women into public policy leadership jobs, and more women and more diverse women in particular. And we think of public policy really, really broadly. So some policy is everything from someone who's working on Capitol Hill as a chief of staff to somebody who's working at the Department of Health and Human Services trying to figure out kind of pandemic response. Everything from that to a lawyer who's working for a nonprofit doing nonprofit advocacy in sort of, a legal role. So it really is lots of things, or a government relations professional at a private company. So there's lots of ways to kind of use public policy in the various sectors in our society, and that's kind of what PLEN does, is really work with college women to help decide what that path might look like for you. And the way we do that is bringing women to Washington. Right now it's virtually, and I'm going to let Marwa tell you a little bit about how that's working. But traditionally what happens is women come to Washington, D.C. From all over the country for about a week at a time, between 3 days to a week, and learn all about these careers. Put panels of women who are doing these jobs that you might want to do. Congress staff, corporation doing government relations, at an association, at a nonprofit doing nonprofit advocacy, at a global communications firm. So we curate these panels for students, and then just get to ask questions and kind of interact with the speakers. We always leave plenty of time for networking with the speakers afterwards. So, in a virtual environment, it's a little different, but we try our best to leave time. We intersperse how do you go into a room and, break into a conversation and shake someone's hand. That can be really, really scary. We do things like never, had to negotiate to kind of give you some language, some confidence boosters to really be able to do that a little more confidently. And we do things like resume reviews. So we'll have a few people look at your resume, sort of like a quick round robin format. So to give you some feedback on your resume. And then we also allow you to interact with each other. So really get to know the other women that are in your cohort attending the same seminar from around the country. Someone who's lived in DC for 17 years, I can tell you that this is a very small town, and you interact with people, the same people a lot, and oftentimes it's people that you knew at an earlier point in your life, and you kind of come back and they become part of your network, and usually friends too. So usually a lot of our students come to DC to work for a little while, and a lot of times some of the women that were in the PLEN seminar with them are also here. So it's great to have that kind of network to start out. PLEN, I just will give you a quick sort of background on PLEN. We were founded, we've been actually around for more than 40 years, founded on the campuses of several women's colleges, and PLEN was really started to help women from kind of under-resourced colleges. So really not the kind of traditional sort of well-funded colleges that you may think about, because the founders of PLEN really wanted to give all women a chance to succeed in policy. And so we've really continued that tradition. We have a really, really diverse student population that that come to our seminars. And we try really hard to have our speakers and our trainers reflect the diversity of our students. So, having really transparent conversations about what it's like to be a first generation college student or a woman of color in policy. And so that's really part of the conversations that we have, which I think is students really, really appreciate. And we've been doing that since the beginning. Our seminars are, as I said, normally in person. So we've had to shift a little bit this year. And now we're doing virtual seminars. They're all on Zoom. And it's very similar to the way that it's worked in person, in terms of making sure that you have time to interact in smaller groups. With speakers, we again leave lots of time for questions and answers at the end of someone's talk, and then we also we've added some more sort of interactive sessions, like watching a documentary together or something like that, and then discussing afterwards. So there's been a lot of, we've had to make some changes, but we've actually gotten really good feedback and on the way that we're running these sessions virtually. And I think it's been really successful. And I think, as a younger woman, your generation really sort of embraces technology. And I think that's made it really, really, kind of seamless in terms of switching to a virtual environment.
So basically, in May, we had a group of 77 students from about 26 colleges and universities, and for the first time, they joined us for our virtual Women in Global Policy seminar, and that was our largest group of students ever, and I found that extraordinary. And I think through our virtual platform, we were able to accommodate more students than our in-person program, since the students in their universities didn't have to travel to Washington, D.C., or didn't need to pay for like hotel expenses and so forth. So we had a larger group. We even had international students from Pakistan and Ghana, and it was great to have a diverse group of students. And I think another thing is that all of these students had the opportunity to learn firsthand how policy leadership and global policy intersects through a series of workshops and panel discussions and site visits. And I mean, having the German embassy and the Israeli embassy and Foreign Policy for America and the Brookings institution speak with our students, it gave them the opportunity to see, hey, do I really want to work in an embassy, or do I want to work in a nonprofit? And it kind of gave them the inside look of how these organizations run. And also with the basic, like with the skills-based workshops and events, including salary negotiation and resume reviews and networking 101 and how to update your LinkedIn, how to bring your A game, that makes sure that you can use those skills to land your first job and implement those skills within getting your first job or getting into a fellowship or an internship, etc. And for the first time, we had also 3 congresswomen show up and one, like, have the students ask questions and for them to have a couple of remarks to kind of like express a couple of like experiences they had as women of color. For example, we had Sharice Davids and so forth. And I also got the opportunity to share my own personal story as a Palestinian and how I use my voice to advocate for the issues that I care about, and how to use storytelling to implement social change within our country and around the world.
I will say that, so this year we're going to have actually 7 seminars. One is coming up in July, and that is focused on health policy in the time of COVID. So we're really focused on health and science policy and how a global pandemic has affected the way we do policy. So we're going to talk about that in July. And then in the fall, we have 2 shorter seminars. One is called Women in Law and Legal Advocacy. And that's really focused on people who want a career in something to do with the law. And then in November, we'll have one that's called Women Influencing Washington. That's really about kind of running for office and jobs on Capitol Hill. And then in the spring, we will have Women in STEM Policy, which is all about kind of that interaction of really science and tech and policy. Then we have Women in Public Policy, which is a really kind of a survey course of policy and talks about a wide range of policy issues. So education policy, health policy, transportation policy, all kinds of things. And then we'll have Women in Health Policy, which is very focused on health and the healthcare system and kind of, innovation in health and public health and global health and all kinds of health-related topics. And then our last seminar of the year in May will be our Women in Global Policy, which, as Marwa was saying, we just had that one this past May. We'll do it again next May. And that's really for people who want careers in kind of foreign policy and global affairs. People who want to be diplomats or work for embassies or work for the State Department, or a wide range of other things that we, careers that you may not even know about. PLEN is open to all students who support women's leadership. And it could be, it's really, really designed for women or those who identify as women. But anyone can come, and freshmen, sophomore, junior, senior, or people who have just graduated or graduate students. We get all folks. I know that Hood has, each school is a little bit different in terms of how you apply. So you'd have to kind of talk to the career development office about that. But that's, if you can apply and have the kind of, have the time to come and spend with us, then by all means, we'd love to have you. We do. Yeah. So we offer scholarships. Well, we try to make it, we try not to turn anyone away from PLEN. We try to kind of raise as much money as we can to fund as many students as we can. The scholarship application is the one thing that's a little bit competitive, but the application is pretty simple. You can find it on our website, which is www.plen.org. And it's just 2 short essays. We ask people to submit the FAFSA form so we can kind of gauge student need, and then 2 letters of recommendation. But we base it a lot on need, and also kind of your interest in those essays about kind of your interest in policy and sort of where you are in your thinking about what you might want to do and what kinds of issues you care about. We don't really limit it, but we just want to know that you sort of have you've thought about it a little bit. So absolutely. So yeah, we have a lot of women. We have over 42, almost 4,300 alumni around the country, working in lots of different jobs. So we have no members of Congress yet, but we hope to change that soon. We have lots of state legislators. So the member of the Minnesota House of Representatives, she was actually the minority leader for a while, is a PLEN alumna. A representative in Michigan is a PLEN alumna. In New York, we have lots of people in Silicon Valley doing work. Our global policy, the global policy director for WhatsApp was a PLEN alumna. Lots of folks in local government as well. So in the DC government, in the New York, the governor's office, the mayor's office in New York City, his chief of staff is a PLEN alumna. Lots of chiefs of staff on Capitol Hill, and also across various nonprofits and agencies in DC. So everything from the State Department to the Department of Defense, to the Department of Health and Human Services, to the CDC. We also have, I don't know if anyone listens to NPR, but Allison Aubrey, who is a health reporter who has been on the radio a lot lately, is also a PLEN alumna. So lots of great alumni, and we continue to add to that list. So yeah, so networking, like I said, it can be really scary, and so we try to teach our students to make sure that we try to give them a way to develop their elevator pitch, so they can sort of have something to say to go up to someone, not to make it canned or anything, but just to have a sense of what you might say to somebody as you're introducing yourself, and the same thing with whether that's an employer or a peer that you want to kind of meet. It can be very similar. And also, informational interviewing is another thing that we talk about in our networking session. For instance, if you're looking for a job, how would you go about, who might you reach out to in your network to talk with about, their company, or what it's like to work for a certain company or agency?
Yeah, so I would say with PLEN, you all as students will have the opportunity to meet with women from every single level, from senior to mid to entry level. And I think that will give you the opportunity to understand different positions, how they got to where they are now, and kind of learn from their experiences and connect with them. Because we have, for example, as I said with the site visit. So for example, if you're meeting with the Brookings institution and you would like to intern there, when you're on one-on-one with this person, you get an opportunity to introduce yourself and to implement what your skills are and tell them, well, I am interested in interning in the Brookings institution. And you have an opportunity to not just go online and apply, but you have PLEN gives you helps you get your foot inside. And what another thing that what PLEN does is we also provide you with a contact sheet with all the contact information for our speakers who joined during the seminar, and that allows you to to communicate with them, to connect with them, and try to get them as your mentors, for example. So there will, in general, when you're joining PLEN, you have a wide network of professional women, and you have the opportunity to choose if you want to continue to build this network and use it for your own benefits and for your future and to implement careers in policy, or you don't. But we always encourage you to continue to connect with them, and whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's getting a virtual coffee with them, or just shooting them an email and updating them about where you are now and what you're interested in doing next. And we're always happy to help our students to get to where they want to, and that's our goal.